Every year since 2018, Minecraft has released a major update, so it's no surprise to learn that we're expecting one in 2024. But what we don't know is what the update will contain. To be clear, Mojang have announced 8 major features so far, but as with last year, they're waiting a few more weeks to share the rest of the update. These features could be almost anything, but today I'm sharing 5 possibilities, starting with the most likely and working down to the best, the most exciting, the darkest perhaps of all of these. But first, hello, I'm AbyaXToyCat. I make videos about Minecraft updates because I love the vanilla game and I like to know what's coming into it, and if you do too, consider subscribing to the channel to learn more, because the most likely thing looking at last year is that Minecraft brings back some big features that they announced in the past and they give them a good home with this update, just like 1.20 did with the cherry trees announced over 10 years ago, and obviously with the archaeology announced a couple of years ago and thought to be long dead. This is a great way to win some points in the community, and so what is a feature from the past that could fit with an update that is themed towards
combat adventures and on tinkering?
I think there is one part of the game that is most likely, and it is new combat. Let's not beat a dead horse here, but if we were going to, we'd be able to beat it with no cooldown because we're on Bedrock, something which is very bizarre. Minecraft has 2 entirely different combat systems, and people sort of hate them both for different reasons. Minecraft is trying to work on new combat experiences, and one look at the trial chambers will be enough to convince you they're doing a great job. Just don't take a second look at the poison skeletons and how they look. However, the important thing to note is they're working on this new combat experience, the new combat adventure, but they haven't worked on the new combat. This makes it especially bizarre that the trial chambers are the same between Bedrock and Java, where the combat, healing, and almost everything else about how you interact with the monster fighting side of the game work entirely differently, which is why this seems like a no-brainer to be a time to bring Bedrock Java parity, or even to go a step further and bring new combat features to the game. I don't think that they're going to reinvent the wheel entirely here. Minecraft and Jeb specifically tried a long time ago on bringing new combat features to the game. I detailed all of them in this video here. However, the most important ones of those are just things like having potions that stack so that people feel they can actually use these for when they're fighting a monster together. In fact, if you had stackable potions, you'd be able to share them more freely amongst friends, but maybe you wouldn't need to if the amount of healing you got was standardized between platforms. Indeed, eating a cooked beef should give you the same amount of health regen regardless of which platform you're playing, and indeed the only real balance reason not for that to be true is the fact that right now you deal different amounts of damage on Bedrock and Java based on how recently you hit. On Bedrock, it's the same damage every time. On Java, it's slightly more damage, but then it goes down if you didn't do it more recently. I think that they should standardize the attack damages between platforms and maybe even go a step further and implement the new combat solution of making it so you're not punished for hitting too frequently, but instead rewarded for waiting more for the next time. In other words, they should take the current critical hit system, which just rewards you when you're in midair, and they should apply that to proper combat timing, and that would be a great plus in my opinion. That is why new combat seems very likely. However, if we're talking about features from the past, which many Minecraft developers have touched, I think that Minecarts are a great example because they have left a lot to be desired for a while now, and one of the oldest Minecraft bugs even spawns from them. MC201 is a Minecraft bug that was reported in 2012, barely after the Gyra bug tracking system was created, and still exists in modern day Minecraft on both the Java and Bedrock versions. What it is when you get in a minecart, and when the minecart goes around a corner, it does not move the player camera to adjust for where the minecart is. This is both what you would expect logically, but also how every other form of transport works, and so it causes all sorts of issues for roller coaster makers which cannot be fixed. Add to that the fact that minecarts are just floating generally above the rails, and the fact that they have no speed, and also the fact that there's only 4 variants of them: the minecart with a chest, the minecart with a hopper, and the minecart with a TNT, and you start to realize really quickly why it is that this is a failing form of transport in its current form. Minecarts were one of the revolutionary, iconic features of the early game, and so wouldn't a great way to make an update about so much more be to come back to these roots? Well, 2 of Mojang's most influential employees certainly think so. Dinnerbone suggested dispenser minecarts back in 2013, and Jeb suggested phasing out the furnace minecart Minecarts in 2016, both of which would obviously come as part of a bigger Minecart update, but this system is something that could do with a larger and broader work because it is really fun when it works, but now with chest boats and elytras, Minecarts feel a little lacking, and what would be a better fit for a combat and tinkering update than something that would allow you to tinker with moving large numbers of items around. This is the update where copper is finding its use, and so maybe it's also the update where copper is put to use in making the new minecart contraptions. A new super boost minecart made from copper, or a new minecart rail that could go up vertically like a ladder are easy ideas, but this system could be useful for all sorts of item transportation functions, which would allow you to really extra tinker your world. Speaking of tinkering, I think there's one big thing Mojang should tinker with when it comes to their update plans, and I think that's the biggest, darkest plan we'll be talking about at the end, but I also think that if they want to tie in tinkering with the other part of this update, which is combat, there are only really two systems that do that, and they've basically been untouched for the last 10 years, potions and enchantments. And I feel as though they both allow you a lot of control. Potions and enchantments would make for a great update because right now we do have potions and they're sometimes usable, and then we have enchantments which are so valuable that everyone has them all of the time. This tells us two things: either that potions are way underpowered or that enchantments are way overpowered. And going back to the point about combat, you could nerf the enchantments to bring these two systems into balance, but I think that there is more value to be had by leaving enchantments how they are, or indeed making them just a bit more fun, giving more options and more choices that actually make it kind of tricky, but also by making potions just as good. In my opinion, this could come by basically acknowledging the fact that to bring a potion anywhere, you have to give up an inventory slot, and so it better give you a damn good effect because it doesn't just take an inventory slot, it doesn't just take time to drink, it also takes a lot of time to brew and you have to know the recipes. So in my opinion, you should be rewarded for this, or at least you should be encouraged to explore. I'll say forever about how I think you should be able to make custom potion effects. So what if you could get a partial water breathing, partial night vision, partial regeneration potion? That would be incredible when you're under the sea or when you're fighting an ocean monument. But what I also think would be handy is just more options when it comes to making potions, and more importantly, give you a higher cap on actually making them. When you're going into the Nether for a dangerous building project, the most fire resistance you can get right now is 8 minutes. Wouldn't it make sense if you could use more redstone, or even if you have to use more magma cream in there, encouraging people to play around with these systems by giving brand new potions such as longer lasting regeneration could make them have a real comeback, and this is something you might want to do if you're encouraging people to go into new combat situations together. I could spend hours talking about how Minecraft could rebalance potions, but instead it might make more sense to move on to the fourth most likely surprise set of features we'll see in 1.21, because I think that when you look at the update, we've seen the crafter, and doesn't it feel a bit weird that that and the copper bulb are the only redstone features? There's no context to link it to the rest of the update, and indeed the game, yet, and that is where a redstone update could come in handy. I think the auto crafter is fun, but it could just be the base of something more to come. Indeed, one of the central unifying themes of 1.21 so far is the copper, which is found in basically every feature, and this is famous for conducting electricity in real life. If you ever see copper wire being stolen from somewhere, it's because we mined it in the Zambia, and we basically took that and we used it to make our electricity grids because copper is damn good at taking electrical current from one place to another. And so with that in mind, even if they don't see the idea of a copper minecart or the idea of some copper rails as being handy, I think using copper to make new redstone components, either miniaturized versions of the ones that we already have or brand new uses that the redstone community would like, is something I would love to see, and I would talk about redstone more, but I feel like every time we do that, we'll dive into something a bit controversial. So how about instead we go for a big stretch, the biggest idea of all of them, the one which really could tie the entire update together and bring this from being one where people say, yeah, it's fine, it's good, it's whatever, into an update where people say, yes, Mojang is finally back on track. What would it take for them to do that? I have considered this question a lot over the last few months. I follow updates very closely, and so every single time we see an announcement, I wonder, are they going to crack the nut, which is making the community happy? Is that even a goal that can be achieved? I feel as though there's only one thing that can really make that happen, and that would be a an end update. Squeezing a much requested end update in sounds challenging at the best of times, but ultimately Mojang blew us away by announcing a cave update shortly after it was highly requested, and so they could do the same for an end update. The best link, in my opinion, would be giving you a new reason to explore the End Islands, and you could add some trial chambers there that would house even bigger challenges with more mobs for rewards. The trial chambers are one of the most challenging structures, and so what if you combine them with the most challenging dimension? This could be the ultimate late game boss, with access only granted to people using a trial key from the main chambers. A single new structure and even just one new biome would take this place from desolate and deserted to popping and pretty. In my opinion, if Mojang wants to achieve the best blowing away bang for their buck, then the End is the only place where you can add one new biome to the game and double the amount of content that people will explore while looking for it. The End is the only place where you can make something which is surreal and strange, something which is very important and fits with the theme of the trial chamber, but which also might fit into what they're doing with this update as a whole. We don't know the name of this update, but we do know that Mojang would presumably like to have a popular update, both in terms of the individual developers would love to do a good job, but also everyone knows that Minecraft makes their money by selling more copies of the game when a big update comes out. If they could finally deliver an end update, it wouldn't just be popular with the existing community, it would also be a huge new wave of hype for the game. And so do we get a crystal forest that you can walk through? I would love to believe so, but honestly anything they do with these islands will count 10 times as much as when they do something in the overworld. I think that the last few updates have all been slowly adding more cave features. If you think about it, the ideas they had for caves and cliffs, they're probably only just running out of right now, because the trial chambers would have been great for that update in my opinion, but if we're finally moving past that, maybe that then makes sense that we can move into some ideas that work for the End, and we could do a job even better if they tie in these two things together. But like I said, that is the furthest stretch of an idea. I think your most realistic bet is just to see some small new combat changes. I bet we're going to be seeing some form of new block set, and that would be pretty exciting, but what we will see and when we will see it is something that Mojang will be announcing over the course of the next few weeks. There is a bit of a holiday gap which goes on, and so I hope you've all enjoyed this video during that period. If you have, consider checking out the rest of them, and for now, I've been IBXToyCat. I hope you all enjoyed the video, and I look forward to seeing you when there's new news to report. Thank you for watching, goodbye.